She slammed her resignation letter on my desk with a calmness that shook me more than any outburst could have. "You got what you wanted," she said. "Now I need to leave with what's left of me." And just like that, she walked out. Her heels clicking on the marble floor. Her back straight. Her silence louder than any scream. My office fell deadly quiet. My hands were still warm from the night before. My phone buzzed with emails, but all I could hear was the sound of her voice cracking just a little when she said those words. I should have felt triumphant. I got what I wanted, didn't I? But instead, I felt like I had swallowed glass. Then, something strange happened. A boy was waiting for me by my car that evening. Maybe 19, maybe younger. Hoodie pulled over his head, fists clenched at his sides. I didn't know him. But he knew me. "You think you can do things like this and get away with it," he said, his voice trembling but furious. Before I could ask who he was, he stepped closer. And then the punch landed. I fell hard. My jaw exploded in pain. My head smacked the concrete, and the world spun. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. He didn't even run. Just walked away. And as I lay there bleeding next to my luxury car, I realized I had opened a door I couldn't close. And the past? It was coming for me. 3 months earlier. It started with a knock. Not on my door. On hers. Eliza was always the first one in. Polished, quiet, sharp. Her desk sat just outside my office, strategically placed for convenience. And observation. She was efficient, kept to herself. Never late. Never careless. But that morning, something was off. She was already at her desk, typing, but her eyes looked tired. Her smile, thin. When she brought in my coffee, her hands trembled slightly. "Rough morning?" I asked casually, trying not to sound too curious. She gave a practiced smile. "Just a long night. My mom hasn't been feeling well. Hope it's nothing serious." She hesitated. Just for a second. Then nodded. I should have let it go. But something in me didn't. "If there's anything you need, within reason, of course, let me know." "Thank you, sir. But it's nothing I can't handle." "Sir." Always with that word. Like a wall. That was the first moment I noticed how tightly wound she was. The second came later that day. I had forgotten my phone in my office during lunch. When I returned, the door was slightly ajar. She was inside, reaching for the charger on my desk. "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just..." "It's fine," I said, more curious than angry. She looked flustered, embarrassed. The kind of reaction that made me pause. She wasn't stealing. But she looked like someone who couldn't afford to be misunderstood. That evening, I pulled up her file. New hire. No family listed. Emergency contact, none. Background check clean. College scholarship. Moved here last year. She was a mystery wrapped in calm professionalism. I didn't know it then, but that curiosity would lead me somewhere dark. Somewhere irreversible. It didn't take long for the office rumors to start. Not about her. About me. There were whispers, always are, when you're the boss and you look too long at the wrong person. I caught the glances. The forced laughter when I entered the break room. And once, I overheard a junior exec murmur, "Wonder how she landed that desk." I should have shut it down. I should have kept my distance. But I didn't. Instead, I started noticing more. How she always ate alone. How she never talked about her weekends. How she avoided small talk like it was poison. One Friday evening, everyone had left early. I stayed back to finish reports. She stayed too. I stood by the glass window, watching the city lights flicker on. Then I saw her reflection, standing behind me, hesitant. "Sir, do you have a minute?" I turned. Her hands were clasped tight. Her eyes. There was something raw in them. "It's my mom, she needs treatment. It's urgent." I didn't know who else to ask. My stomach twisted. I knew what this was. Not a scam. Not a manipulation. It was desperation. "How much?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She blinked, surprised. I don't expect a gift. I'll repay you. Every cent. I just need. I didn't say no, I cut in. She stared at me. And then, slowly, something shifted inside me. A thought crept in, slow and poisonous. If she needed something this badly, how far would she go for it? I didn't say anything that night. Just told her to give me the details and said we'd talk Monday. But that weekend, I didn't stop thinking about it. Not about the money. About her. How far would she go? And how far would I? Monday came. She handed me a small folder. Neatly typed. A hospital estimate. Treatment plan. Notes from the doctor. She had highlighted the totals. It was more than her annual salary. I skimmed through it, pretending to read slowly, while my mind was racing. She stood there quietly. Not begging. Just waiting. That made it worse somehow. "You said you'd repay me," I said finally. She nodded. "Yes. Every month." "I can." "No. Not with money." She froze. Silence. I leaned back in my chair. The words came out too easily. Too rehearsed. "You want something personal from me. I want something personal from you." She didn't move. Didn't speak. "Just one night," I said, softly. "No strings. Then the money is yours." Her face went pale. She looked at the floor. Her voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. "Let me think about it." Then she turned and walked out. And the moment the door closed, I felt it. Shame. Regret. But not enough to take it back. I told myself it was just a transaction. Adults making a choice. But deep down, I knew I had crossed a line I could never uncross. She didn't come to work Tuesday. Or Wednesday. No call. No message. Nothing. By Thursday morning, I started pacing. I told myself it was because of the work piling up. That I was annoyed, not worried. But the truth? I couldn't stop thinking about her face. That moment of stillness. That silence. Friday. She walked in like nothing had happened. Polished. Calm. Dead behind the eyes. "I've made my decision," she said, not even sitting down. My heart pounded. I swallowed hard. "And?" She nodded once. "One night. No more. No less. Then we're even." I tried to speak. I couldn't. She handed me an envelope with the hospital invoice. "The treatment starts next week. I need the payment processed by Monday." "You'll have it," I said, my voice dry. That night, it happened. I won't describe it. Not because I can't. Because I don't want to. Because every second of it felt wrong. Like taking a match to something sacred. And in the morning, when I woke up, she was already gone. The bed cold. The room colder. And for the first time in my life, I felt like the villain. She didn't look at me on Monday. She came in. Did her work. Answered phones. Scheduled meetings. All with the same grace and precision. But her eyes never met mine again. I tried to speak to her during lunch. She walked past me like I didn't exist. Later that day, I transferred the money. Every cent. No delay. I thought maybe that would ease the tension. It didn't. The office noticed. People always do. But no one said anything to me. They wouldn't dare. Then, something unexpected happened. She stopped staying late. She stopped smiling at anyone. And then, one morning, she didn't come in at all. I checked the time. Then the emails. Nothing. By noon, HR informed me she had quit. No explanation. No notice. Just an envelope left on her desk. Inside, her access badge, and a handwritten note. I did what I had to do. I hope your conscience keeps you company. That night, I sat alone in my office. Looking at her empty desk. It hit me, finally. This wasn't just regret. This was the beginning of my punishment. Weeks passed. Every morning, I expected to see her at that desk. Every night, I thought about calling her. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I poured myself into work. Projects. Deals. Deadlines. Anything to drown the silence. But it was no use. Her absence was louder than her presence ever was. Then, one day, I overheard something. Two interns chatting in the break room. "Hey, did you hear about Eliza? Someone said her mom's surgery was a success. The hospital posted about it on their newsletter." I froze. I found the article. A local hospital highlight. A brief mention of a young woman who had stepped up to support her mother against all odds. No names. No photos. But I knew it was her. I stared at that screen for what felt like hours. Then, for the first time in years, I left work early. That evening, I drove by the hospital. Just sat there. In the car. Watching the entrance. And then I saw her. Pushing a wheelchair. Her mother, pale but smiling, was wrapped in a thick shawl. Eliza looked tired. But lighter. Free. I didn't get out. I couldn't face her. Not yet. But I knew, in that moment, what I had to do next. And it wasn't about getting her back. It was about becoming someone who deserved forgiveness. It started small. Anonymous donations to the cancer unit where her mother was treated. Scholarship funds for underprivileged interns in my company. Late nights volunteering at shelters. Not because I had time. But because I needed to do something that didn't serve me. People started noticing. My board was confused. Friends asked if I was okay. I just kept going. It wasn't enough. It never would be. But it was a start. Then one rainy evening, 2 months later, I saw her again. Not at the hospital. At a bookstore downtown. She was alone. Wearing a navy coat. Browsing through the poetry section. I almost walked past. Almost. But I didn't. I stood behind her quietly and said, "Eliza." She turned. Her face didn't twist. Didn't flinch. Just, still. "Hi," she said softly. I nodded. My throat was dry. "How's your mom?" "Recovering well. We're taking it one day at a time." I hesitated. Then, "I'm glad." She stared at me a moment. Then asked, "Why are you here?" "I didn't plan this. I swear. But since I'm here, can I talk to you? Just for a minute." She didn't say yes. But she didn't walk away. That minute stretched into a quiet, cautious conversation over coffee next door. She didn't forgive me. But she listened. And for now, that was enough. The days after that coffee were strange. She didn't block me. But she didn't reach out either. I didn't push. I knew better now. But every so often, I'd text. A link to a book she mentioned. An article about the hospital expansion. A photo of a coffee cup that reminded me of that night. Sometimes she replied. Just a line. Sometimes nothing. But the silence no longer felt like rejection. It felt like waiting. Then, weeks later, she invited me. Not to dinner. To a fundraiser. The hospital had organized a small charity event. She was helping host. Her mother would be attending. I didn't know what to make of it. But I said yes. The night of the event, I stood outside the community hall for nearly 20 minutes before walking in. She saw me from across the room. She didn't smile. But she nodded. That night, we spoke more. Not about us. About life. Her mother. The people the hospital helped. The future. She introduced me to the staff. Not as her former boss. Just, someone who helped. And in her voice, I heard something I hadn't before. Trust. Not full. Not ready. But starting. She called me 3 days later. Not to meet. Not to talk. To ask if I could help sponsor a medical outreach program the hospital was organizing in the inner city. It wasn't personal. It wasn't about us. But it was something. I didn't hesitate. I said yes. Then doubled the donation. She sent a simple text. Thank you. And for the first time, I allowed myself to feel hopeful. A week later, we bumped into each other again, at a Sunday market near the park. She was buying flowers. I was grabbing coffee. This time, she smiled first. You always here? She asked. Not really, I replied. But maybe I should be. She rolled her eyes, but the smile stayed. We walked. Talked. Laughed, even. And suddenly, we weren't our past anymore. Not for a moment. Just two people trying. Before she left, I asked her something I never thought I'd have the chance to ask. Can I see you again? Like, really see you? Dinner, maybe? No pressure. No expectations. She paused. Then said, one dinner. That's all I'm promising. I nodded. That's all I'm asking. That dinner would change everything. I booked a quiet place. Nothing flashy. Just warm lighting, soft music, and a small corner table far from the noise. She arrived in a navy dress. Hair down. No makeup. Still the most arresting person in the room. You look beautiful, I said. She didn't thank me. Just sat down, folded the napkin in her lap, and said, let's eat. The conversation was stiff at first. Polite. Surface level. But as the wine poured and the food settled, something shifted. We talked about her childhood. How her mom used to work 2 jobs. How she raised her little brother. How Eliza had once wanted to be a writer. Why didn't you pursue it? I asked. She looked at me, and for the first time that night, her voice softened. Because life didn't ask what I wanted. It handed me what it had. And I made it work. I nodded slowly. I understand that more than you think. By dessert, we were smiling. Genuinely. As we stepped out into the night air, I held the door for her. She turned to me and said, this was not terrible. I laughed. I'll take that. We walked to her car. Before she got in, she looked at me and said, I'm not promising anything. I'm still angry. Still healing. I know. But tonight, you were human. I've been trying, I said quietly. Every day. She got in, started the car, but didn't drive off. Don't wait for me, she said through the open window. But don't disappear either. Then she left. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel hollow. I felt like a door had opened. Even if just a crack. Months passed. We didn't rush. We didn't label anything. Some weeks, we texted daily. Other weeks, nothing. But the thread between us held. Then, one morning, she called. Can we meet? She asked. I said yes before she finished the sentence. We met at the park. Same spot we passed during that Sunday market. She sat beside me on the bench, quiet for a while. Then she turned and said, I forgave you. The words landed like thunder. I didn't respond. I didn't know how. Not for you, she continued. For me. I was carrying it like poison. Letting it eat me. And I'm done being angry. My voice broke. Eliza. She shook her head. Let me finish. I'm not the same person you met. I've changed. And so have you. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, leather-bound notebook. I started writing again, she said. I'm thinking of publishing. I thought maybe you could help, if you want to. I took the notebook with shaking hands. Then she smiled, truly smiled, and stood. Come by my place tomorrow. Dinner. My mom's cooking. You're sure? I wouldn't ask if I wasn't. I stood too. And as we walked out of the park together, side by side, I felt it. That maybe we weren't rewriting the past. Maybe we were just starting a new story. One with no conditions. Only choice. And maybe, just maybe,